Hey everyone, in this video we'll learn how to graph a circle. So as you can see right here, we have our circle over here. And the first thing we're going to do before we go ahead and overlay it on our graph, I want to talk about this circle. So let's go ahead and just talk about circles in general briefly. So every circle has a center. And this circle's center is roughly right there. Let me go ahead and just move it. There we go. So that blue point is the circle's center. And every circle also has a radius. So the radius is simply the distance from the center to any point on the circle. So that green line right there is the radius. And it doesn't actually matter where the radius is drawn. It could be here. It could be drawn like this. It could be drawn like this. It doesn't matter because the radius's distance will always be the same, no matter where it's drawn. And the radius of this particular circle, if we go ahead and draw it like this, just using these boxes right here on the grid lines, this is 2 spaces. So it goes 1, 2. So the distance of this radius is 2. The radius of this circle is 2. And it doesn't matter where it's drawn, whether it's 2 over there, whether it's 2 over here. This is also in fact 2. It doesn't matter where, the radius will always be 2. And that is what you have to know about a circle before we go ahead and put it on the graph. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take the circle right here, and let's just overlay it on our graph right over there. And let's identify the center and radius again. So the center right here, over here, happens to be at the origin point. So that blue center point right there is at the origin. And we know the coordinates for the origin are 0, 0. So the center is at 0, 0. Great, and we also know the radius, because if we start at the center and go to any point on the circle, so right here, we know that this line is 2 long. It has a distance of 2, so 1, 2. That's how you want to think about it. So the radius of this circle is 2. So now we have the center of the circle, we have the center point, it's at the origin, and we have the radius of the circle, which is 2. Now we want to learn how to write the equation for this graph. What does the equation look like for this circle on the graph? So a circle on a graph takes the form of x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. This is the general form for graphing any circle. And let's explain what all these variables are. So we know what x and y are. X and y, they appear whenever we graph anything. And let's take a look at h and k. So h and k are actually the coordinates to the center. So h and k, the center of the circle, will have the coordinates h, k. And what is r? So r right here stands for the radius. So the radius of the circle. Okay, so we know the general form for an equation whenever we graph a circle. How do we graph this particular circle where the center is at 0, 0 and the radius is 2? So all we have to do is substitute these numbers. We know the center, h, k. For this particular circle, it's at 0, 0. So h is 0 and k is also 0. And the radius, we know up here, is 2. We know that the radius of the circle is 2. So that's what we're going to write there. So r will be 2. R equals 2. Let's just go ahead and substitute it. So let's just move all of this up just a little bit. And here, let's move this up just a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and substitute it in this original equation. So x minus h, and what did we say h was? 0, so this is x minus 0. So x minus 0 squared plus y minus, and we said k was also 0. So we said k was also 0, so y minus 0 squared equals r squared. So we said r is 2, so that is 2 squared. Perfect, and let's go ahead and just simplify this. So what's x minus 0? That just comes out to x, and then x squared is x squared. And then this comes out similarly, y minus 0 is y, and then y squared is just y squared, so plus y squared equals, and 2 squared is 4. And there we go. That is the equation for the circle we have graphed. X squared plus y squared equals 4. And that is the equation for this circle right here. So let's go through another example. Let's say instead of the circle being right there, let's say it was up here and it was a little bit bigger. So it has a larger radius. Right over, let's go ahead and just expand it just a little bit. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now we have a different circle. So let's go ahead and erase this. And let's erase these as well. We'll erase this for the old circle that we drew. Okay. So now for this circle, we want to identify the radius and center point as well. Let me just go ahead and remove these. So what is the center of the circle? Well, it looks like it's right here. So the center of the circle is right there. And what is that point? That point is at 3, 3. So 3, 3 is the center point. And what is the radius of this circle? So all we have to do is start at the center and just draw a line anywhere on the circle. I recommend drawing a flat line so that's easier to count. And if you count how many spaces this is 1, 2, 3. Well, right about 3 spaces. So we will say the radius of this circle. So the radius of this circle is 3. Okay, so we know the center is at 3, 3, and the radius is 3. Let's go ahead and plug it in. So center's at 3, 3, and the radius is 3. Let's move that down here. Okay, and then just going ahead and plugging these into our circle equation, we have x minus h, so x minus, and h and k are both 3, so h is 3 and k is 3. Those are the coordinates to our center point. So we have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals, our r is 3, so 3 squared. And then just to simplify this, 3 squared comes out to 9. And there we go. That is the equation for our circle. X minus 3 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 9. And that is the equation for this circle right here. Now, if you wanted to, you could solve this equation for y. So if we went ahead and just solve this equation for y, what we could do is subtract x minus 3 squared from both sides. So minus x minus 3 squared. And we have y minus 3 squared equals 9 minus, so 9 minus in parentheses x minus 3 squared and then taking the square root. So that is a plus minus. And that will cancel that out. So we are left with y minus 3 equals plus minus the square root of 9 minus x minus 3 squared. And then, just to make it quicker, we can go ahead and add 3 to both sides as our final step. And just to, so I don't have to write this over again, we can put the 3 right there. And we come out with y equals 3 plus minus the square root of 9 minus x minus 3 squared. So that would be the equation of the circle if you went ahead and solved for y. Now, one thing to notice is that we can graph this circle, but it's not a function. If you go ahead and drop a vertical line right here, then it hits 2 points on the graph. So it fails the vertical line test. Therefore, a circle is not a function. So a circle can't be a function, but a semicircle can. So if this circle were actually a semicircle, let me try my best to draw one. So maybe right here, 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 here. So if I tried my best to draw a semicircle right here. Okay, so this is a semicircle. And this would be a function because it passes the vertical line test at every point. So a semicircle would be a function, but a full circle, so if I reverted it back to the full circle, this would not be a function. So that's one thing to understand whenever you graph a circle. You can graph it, but it is not a function. So I hope this video helps to help you graph circles. And if you have any questions at all, please leave them down in the comments below. And thank you for watching.